Yeah, grateful for this opportunity to talk about building national resilience by increasing access to defibrillators. May I just begin my remarks actually by paying tribute to my friend George Smith, who died yesterday from a heart attack. George was the chair of the parish council in West Auckland and was a former Durham County councillor. And to everybody who knew him, a great man who always had a twinkle in his eye and an energy and a desire to serve others. And I don't know whether access to a defibrillator would have saved George, but I do know that the national survival rate of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests in the UK is just 8%. Let that sink in. Only 8% of people survive. But we also know that chances of survival increase by 70% where people have rapid access to a defibrillator within 3 to 5 minutes, saving lives. And that's all of our friends and family and neighbours. In Bishop Auckland, where I represent, only 51% of postcodes are outside of the recommended distance for timely access to a defibrillator. We've got 17 defibrillators per 10,000 people, which is actually above the national average, but it still falls far below the recommended 50 to 100 per 100,000 people. So I asked the Minister what plans there are to address stark regional disparities in coverage, and particularly in rural areas and disadvantaged communities. I had a constituent write to me recently to share the experience of her father. He had a cardiac arrest at work, and his life was saved by rapid access to a defibrillator. She explained, though, that had he had that cardiac arrest at home, she looked it up and realised that it would have taken her 30 minutes to get to the nearest defibrillator. So we know that there are huge gaps, defibrillator deserts, and gaps in national provision. The government's community automated external defibrillator fund has been exhausted, and all funds allocated with no plans for expansion. That fund delivered 3,000 defibrillators, a small fraction compared to the 100,000 defibrillators registered on the circuit. And given that costs remain a major barrier, with community groups facing £2,500 per device and not getting VAT relief on that, which is a campaign that we have fought previously, will the government finally commit, and I appreciate the Minister can't comment on tax affairs, but pass it on to her colleagues, to commit to removing VAT on defibrillator purchases, as has been done for other life-saving equipment? It's also important to note that registration on the circuit is not the same as being accessible, because many devices are locked away in offices, schools or businesses and are not available 24/7. This makes survival even less likely for cardiac arrests outside of working hours. So what steps are being taken to ensure that the National Defibrillator database is accurate, up-to-date and reflects actual availability? And will the department work with local authorities and community groups to ensure that placement in genuinely accessible locations outside buildings, in community hubs and transport stations? I recently, last year, had the opportunity to host Jack Hurley here in Parliament. Jack is an outstanding young man. He had a cardiac arrest whilst playing football, and his friends were able to access a defibrillator and perform CPR on him. And it was great to see him standing tall and back doing the things that he loves. And Jack has been campaigning for this for some time, and I just want to pay tribute to him and his campaign, because his story reminds us that behind every statistic is a family, including a young life that could be cut short or saved, depending on access to a defibrillator. Every member here will have similar stories and will have no doubt been contacted by constituents asking for help acquiring defibrillators. And many will know the experience of seeing a loved one in a moment of peril. When I was just 11 years old, my mum collapsed with a seizure while we were at church, and it was only by the good fortune of there being a paramedic in the congregation that her life was saved. And had that not been the case, I would have grown up without a mother. So this is not only about survival, but also about recovery. Early defibrillation also means better neurological outcomes, shorter hospital stays, lower long-term costs to the NHS, a chance to turn the UK's poor survival rate into something far more hopeful. And we all know what works. So the question is, will the government please act to ensure equitable access across every constituency?